Hey everybody, welcome back to Feedback Loop. I'm Jeremy.
And I'm Joey.
And this week we're going to be talking... You got something to say?
No, I was gonna just roll with it because behind the curtains we have a set time limit on how long we can record. So I was just gonna be like, boom, 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 boom.
No, we're going to kill it. We're going to crush it. We got a lot to cover. This week we're going to be talking about seasonal albums that we associate with seasons. And I started my list with spring just because it feels like the natural starting point.
Yeah,
but also because it's about to be spring. So we're going to be going through each season, talking briefly, I guess, about the albums that we picked and why we picked them for those seasons. I actually have one album in each season that we have discussed, like on the podcast, is like album episodes. And part of that was intention, and part of that was it just kind of fell right with what I was picking anyway. Because this podcast is fun and I like talking about albums on this podcast, and
yeah.
therefore the albums we talk about will inevitably evoke emotion. So, unless you got something else. Oh, I guess before we get to that, we can talk briefly about the German trance that we have been listening to over the past couple weeks. I don't have anything specific to shout out. I did listen to a fair amount of it. It all kind of blended together, which is why I don't have anything specific. Not that it's a bad sound. I love it. It was fun. It's high energy. I mean, I've heard it before, but it was just like, I don't know. It felt right. I feel like trance and Euro dance and stuff like that all kind of like belongs in Europe. Not that American artists can't do it right, but it felt natural.
But Europeans do it better.
They do it better. They do a lot of things better.
Like everything except for being American. They're technically not better at being American.
It's true. But
I do have one guy that let's keep politics out of this podcast. I do have one guy that I wanted to shout out. Alex Morph. But the Morph is MORPH, like an acronym or whatever. I don't know. I didn't look up if it actually stood for anything or not.
Really phoning it in this week.
Yeah. He just had a lot of good like songs. I mean, he has a ton of like singles on Spotify, but like his most recent one, Siberia, which is like cyber, but Siberia, so it's like CYBERIA. That was a really good track. He had Calling Saigon, which I liked because it was different enough that it actually like stood out to me.
Yeah.
But like you said, that like, I mean,
it's trance.
Yeah, it's trance.
Right?
It's kind of like
there's your bread and butter to it, right? Where you just the whole time, and then you kind of obviously build on it in different ways. And I'm sure people that are very familiar with German trance have more like minute details that they can like call out and like say, no, like you guys are wrong. It's totally different, because that's just the way it is. Once you're close to something, you can kind of analyze it in a way that people at a distance cannot.
Yeah.
And we're at a pretty decent distance, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I feel that way about like French electronic music, where I like, but and this is going to sound biased but like, I just feel like there's a different element to a lot of it. Like it's a lot smoother.
They got a groove, they got a funk, they got soul over there, so, and that translates perfectly into house music, I think. I mean, most of the biggest house musicians, in my opinion, the best ones, seem to come from France.
Starting just wars over here, Jeremy.
Just like synth pop is big in like Sweden, Yeah. It's just those Swedes, they got the synth pop down for us. Anyways, without further ado, we're gonna blast into the spring. We're gonna spring into spring.
Nice, I like it.
With our album picks here,
I love it.
The first one I picked here is one that we've talked about on the podcast. We're both big fans of. It's Porter Robinson's Nurture.
Yeah,
because that album is just so optimistic and whimsical and motivational that I feel like it lends itself well. And like, I don't know, a lot of the imagery used for the album was very like big, bright and green, like pastures and flowers and growth and forests and stuff like that, which obviously spring evokes a lot of those phenomena in nature as well as in people. Just it feels revitalizing, I suppose.
Yeah, and it came out in the spring. I think, wasn't it
Yeah, I think it
in
did. I think it was
April,
March or April. Yeah,
March? Yeah. So
somewhere around that time. What you got
I
for spring? I have another one for spring, but what you
oh
got?
okay. Yeah, I picked specifically 3 albums, but like
Sure.
more of the way that I lean in spring, and I don't know if it's like the freshness in the air or the feeling close to nature because everything's blooming or whatever, but I typically like tend towards more like acoustic, folksy,
Yeah,
singer-songwriter type stuff,
I can
which
feel that.
like the first album that came to mind is Pink Moon by Nick Drake, which is like I wouldn't say an optimistic album at all. In fact, I would almost go like the opposite way. But
Yeah.
just I'm not necessarily typically an optimistic person, and while I do like spring because I like that it's a little bit colder, it's I don't get the feeling of like anything is possible in spring that a lot of
Right.
people seem
Yeah.
to get. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, people that have like bad seasonal depression, right, when they're coming out of it in spring, it's like a manic euphoria kind of a
yeah,
deal, for
yeah.
sure. And yeah, I don't know. I don't think I'm that level, but I think in recent years I've been more into spring just because like I mean driving around in spring feels great, and
Hmm.
listening to music while driving is one of my favorite things to do. But like I've been trying to be a little bit more outdoorsy, and the winter's been hard to do that. So I feel like spring's like okay, like now I'm getting back into that kind of stuff, or I
Yeah,
will be as it rolls around. So I think that's why optimism suits it well for me. My second album for spring is an album by Florence and the Machine,
ooh,
High as Hope. It's the only album I've spent a substantial amount of time listening to by Florence and the Machine, but I really love it. I found it around the time that I played Final Fantasy 15, which wasn't too long ago, but I'd say it was within the last like 4 years probably. But it just drew me right in. She has such a powerful voice. The album has a lot of like powerful themes and stuff, and I feel like that kind of power. Once again, it's kind of building me up a bit
yeah.
in some ways. And while they're not necessarily positive themes, I think it's empowering to me, and it energizes me in ways that a lot of other music does not.
Definitely. I like Florence and the Machine. At least what I've heard. I'm not gonna act like I know
Yeah,
really
go
anything
listen. Go
about
listen
Florence.
to the single "Sky for a Song" is from that album. If you listen to any of it, it's very good.
Well, there we go. I'm gonna be doing some gaming tonight. Maybe I'll throw that on.
Hell yeah!
Help me in my runescaping. My my next album. Really, it was hard to pick one album, but it could be anything by the Tallest Man on Earth.
Yeah,
But more specifically his self-titled album or his I think it's an EP, self-titled EP, and I picked it because I feel like I mean the tallest man on earth, so many like nature themes in all of his music, like birds and just
yeah,
the forests and all like it just feels very spring because everything's coming back to life. But earlier in his music, he he's louder, I guess. Like he's just a lot more like yelly but
right,
not like in a rock and roll type of way, but
right.
like
But
in
in
a
in the neutral milk hotel, where he kind of belts it a bit.
yeah, definitely. And his general vibe earlier into his, I guess, career was very much just like a dude in a with his guitar, like walking barefoot through the woods, just like you'd hear him off in the distance playing in the
Yeah,
meadow or something. So I feel like that's a vibe that hits me in the spring.
that's awesome. Yeah, I can totally like. It wasn't on my mind, but like we did.
The
I
Wild
can't
Hunt.
remember. Is that the album that we talked about?
For Tallest Man on Earth?
Yeah,
I thought it was The Wild Hunt. Or was it
it was something.
Shallow?
It has
No,
"I
it
Won't Be
wasn't The
Found."
Wild Hunt.
It has "Won't Be Found" on it.
It's Shallow Grave? No,
Yeah,
that's the
that's it.
song.
I think
Was
that
that it?
well, maybe that's I don't know. That album though, like that like just that bring when you mentioned it, it kind of brought me back to that. And it really yeah, I think that fits perfectly with the kind of vibes, just the power and the energy that
It was
that he
Shallow
has.
Grave.
Cool. Nice. What's your last spring one because I only had two.
Oh, okay. My last one is John Prine's self titled album, which back
Right.
to 1971, I believe, is whenever that one came out. And John Prines like a very well known. He's just like an excellent storyteller, and this one, like, I don't really have any sort of explanation for it, and I
You just
have
like
been
it.
listening. I just like it, and I tend to listen to it at the beginning of the year. He and it is like there's a lot of songs, especially on this album, that are like crushing. Like they're not hopeful. They're like the
Right.
opposite. He tells like extremely gritty stories of people in sad, unfortunate situations, but there's just something about it and like the guitar work and everything that he does throughout the whole album that I feel like makes me want to listen to it in spring whenever like it's cold in the morning, there's dew everywhere, and
Yeah.
it paints a picture in my mind of like me being a person in one of the songs, even though it would be shitty to be in one of his songs. There would be no hope to be
Right.
in one of his songs. But
Just complete despair.
yeah, but yeah, it I don't I don't have too much of an explanation other than every
Hey,
time I hear it, I think of spring.
that's all it takes, man. You don't have to have logic and reasoning to go with your feelings and emotions. You know. Speeding on to into summer though, I noticed I kind of trended all four of my summer picks as time of day. So it's interesting that you kind of mentioned the time of day specifically for the last one being like a cold morning. So each of my four albums I feel kind of suits a specific time during a summer day.
Ooh,
The first of which, Gorillaz Plastic Beach,
nice.
is such a good summer album. I think
Hmm.
it's got a lot of bright, beachy vibes in it, and it's just good all day, every day in the summer.
Man, I probably should have incorporated, especially with like how much I like Beach Bunny, and I do like Plastic Beach and just
Yeah,
Gorillas in general.
for sure.
I love them, and I do like that kind of vibe. But summer is my least favorite season, like
Yeah,
by far.
it's too
I
hot.
It's too hot. It's overrated. Like I don't now that I'm not in school, there's no reason for me to like it
Right.
because it's just another season except
You
now
just need to
I'm
get out more, Joey. You need to go outside more.
I mean probably, but like whenever the way that summer gets me is like the late summer evening and nights whenever
Yeah,
it
for sure.
starts to get colder and like later into the season and like maybe not in like July and August, but like towards the end in like September nights
Yeah,
and stuff. But and that kind of fall that more bleeds into what I consider fall music though, so I didn't put a lot of it in
yeah.
here.
There's a fine
I,
line there.
there really is, and the aspects that I like of late summer evenings is what I like about fall, and it
Right.
happens all the time in fall. So I just put it all together. But
For sure.
typically, I kind of lean towards like the DIY folk punk type music, um, which is like Pat the Bunny, like anything by Pat the Bunny.
Right.
If I'm driving around in the summer heat, I'll just be like yelling
Yeah,
anarchist,
I can see
whatever.
you driving around at the pizza place, just your windows down, and you're just screaming out the window listening to some of that stuff.
It's
Good
exactly
old
what I
Joey
was doing.
music.
Exactly what I was doing.
Is that your first plug for summer?
Yeah, because yeah, I have
Just the
three
genre,
general.
the style.
Yeah, I couldn't nail down albums because of how much of that specific genre I like. I kind of just picked three artists,
Right,
but
right.
went the easy way
Okay,
out.
cool. My second is another one that we've discussed on the podcast, and that is the album Green and Gray by Pyle.
No, nice.
Because
Hell
for
yeah.
kind of what you were hinting at, like that album for me is just such a perfect like summer night album where the
Yeah.
sun's setting. You know, you have a drink. You know, you sit outside and just kind of like exist and put that
Yeah.
album on, and it hits that vibe for me. I think, and part of that I think is when we discussed it on the podcast. I believe it was summer, and I think I like went for a walk when I was doing it. It was just a very like good, moody, vibey kind of late in the day vibes for me.
Yeah. Definitely. I wish like it took all that I had to not like keep Pile off of
Yeah.
every season on this list, but
I almost picked All Fiction, but I was like, that album's still relatively new,
yeah,
and so I want to give it time to kind of grow into whatever season it's going to be.
yeah. But Rick, if you're listening, I could listen to Pile all the time, so don't
Every
take this
season is
as
Pile season.
don't take this as a snub.
For
But
sure. And I feel that way about all the albums on
yeah,
this list. So
yeah. There's a lot of like stuff that kind of just stays on rotation all year. But
yeah.
more specifically in summer, my second pick was it was actually two albums by AJJ. People Who Can Eat People Are the Luckiest People in the World, which is a more folk punk sound that they had originally, and then the album that we discussed, Knife Man. That one is just I fucking love it. It's
I
just
agree. It's good shit. They have a new album coming out.
hell yeah,
Soon.
they do.
I don't think it's out yet. It might have come out today, but I think it's
I didn't see
probably next week
anything.
or something. But yeah, so that's fun. I'm looking forward to that. I listened to the EP that they released that has I think 2 singles on it for the album that is coming up. Had a great time listening to those singles the other day while I was out driving. So definitely cool pick. Definitely feel the vibes there. My third summer pick, as the sun is kind of setting, as it sets, the final hours, you put this album on. It's Daft Punk's Random Access Memories,
Oh hell yeah!
because that album has such a good vibe, and like the mood changes as the sun sets, and the album really like sets a lovely like night. It sets the mood for like getting out and starting your night drive, I think, for
Yeah,
me. And by the time that album ends, you know, the sun's already like fully set, so it's pretty dark out, and it just like ends in such a nice vibey spot for me.
dude, you fucking killed it with these summer recs, because just saying the words Random Access Memories took me
Yeah.
back to like whenever I was in. I mean, I think whenever it came out, I was maybe in my junior or senior year of high school, and
No,
just
that album came out in 2013.
okay, maybe I was still hanging out with my high school friends then, because that would have been the year after I graduated. No,
Right.
yeah, I graduated in 2012, so I was probably still hanging out with my high school friends. But I do remember vividly in the summer, just like the night starting, driving over to their houses and putting
Yeah.
that on the way there and being like,
It never
fuck yeah,
misses. That
it
album
never
hits
does.
10 out of 10 times.
Oh god, Give Life Back to Music is just going to be stuck
Yeah.
in my head. Oh Jesus. Okay, third album. I gotta
Yeah,
get out of that headspace. Nana Grizzle, everything by Nana Grizzle. Literally, I could not pick an album, because I'd say behind Pile, Nana Grizzle's my. I hate saying they're my second favorite band, but
Right.
they
They're one of
don't
your
have.
favorite bands, period.
Yeah, lately I've really been into Ursa Minor, which is their third studio album,
Hell yeah.
but I like all of them.
I think when the summer rolls down, you can hold me to this. I'm going to give Nana Grizzle another good shot, a good thorough listening to.
Hell yeah.
My
What's
fourth
your
pick
fourth?
it's an oldie, it's a classic. I picked this because, for me at least, I feel like nostalgia and summer kind of go hand in hand. So my
Yeah.
fourth pick, which is a night driving album, it's just a night vibe album in the summer, I think, is Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon.
Oh hell
And
yeah.
just existing and listening to that album from front to back when it's dark outside, there's something about it that's just like, it feels good. It's like a warm, cozy blanket of nostalgia for me. So that's my final summer pick.
Nice. That's a good one. That's a really good one. Fuck, dude. You know what? Maybe I'm coming around to summer, because I'm getting
Yeah,
all these
it's all about
memories.
the music mood, you know.
I'm getting all these memories of like being a youngster on summer break, staying awake until like the sun comes up, and just like
Yeah,
whatever album I was listening to as the sun was coming up was like the best shit I'd ever heard.
for sure.
And
It's
it
still
was
it's
just a
still the
great
case,
feeling.
I think. If you can manage to stay awake as old as you are, you old man.
I am an old man. I haven't stayed awake past 3 a.m. I mean, I do it sometimes to play games, but I haven't like been out doing things that I enjoy outside at that early in the morning.
Yeah, it's good
Well, what
shit
about
though.
fall? Are we moving on to fall now?
Yeah, autumnal albums. I wrote
Shit,
autumn in my notes. I'm a
autumn.
dignified man.
Autumn is a much better word. I just
I agree.
typed fall because it was a shorter word.
It's easy, and it's been drilled into us that the season is
Yeah,
fall.
autumn is the superior season name though, and
I agree.
autumn is the superior season in my opinion.
Agreed. Agreed.
So
I think a lot of people agree. Those people that don't love summer love autumn. Love the
yeah,
fall. That's just the way it is.
yeah, it's just like I was saying in summer, like it's just got every. I feel like every breath of fall air has the same feel as the nighttime in summer, and it's just great. And the way you were talking about summer hitting nostalgia for you, like I literally can't be outside in the fall, in the autumn, without having just waves of nostalgia for the old days come
Yeah.
over me.
There's something about the air. If you get a good whiff of like fall air, it transports me. There's such a specific scent with like all of the dead leaves and just the vibe, just it's perfect temperature. The air just there's something about it. It sinks into your skin.
And this isn't something I don't think I mean, I think we touched on it before, but like bands that I consider Waterfront Wednesday bands typically
Yeah.
fall into the fall category, even though Waterfront Wednesday takes place in summer. So maybe I'm just taking too much stuff from summer and attributing it to fall. But
Yeah.
like my first pick was it's the album Telephone by the Districts, which is I don't know how to describe them because I don't want to say indie rock because they're really not, but I guess I'll say
Say
indie rock
alternative.
because
Alternative is a catch-all.
alternative. They're alternative rock type of bands that whenever I hear them, I want to be standing outside, feeling the cool autumn breeze on my back outside near near a body of water, and that's just
Yeah, for sure. Have not listened to the districts, so I can't elaborate or comment on that. But my first pick for autumn music, and this is very much due to the fact that I think it released in October, but also just the darkness of it. That's not full. It's not winter levels of darkness, but Slipknot's point five that we discussed
nice.
it feels to me like it if nurture is yin, then Slipknot's point five is yang, where it's like a very pessimistic album, but they're so like energetic and enthusiastic about how pessimistic it is. I think that keeps it from falling into winter, but it's definitely getting like to those kind of darker areas and just the futility of existence in fall. Everything's
Yeah, that's fall for you. Maybe that's why it's so popular because everybody's being like, "Yep, it's
yeah,
the
everyone's
end."
sick of the rest of the year that they've had. So
My like my next pick is pretty much in the same vein, or at least I like it for the same reason as the Districts. But it was two albums by the same band. Cabaret is the first album, and then Mountains, Beaches, Cities by both by Moon Taxi. Which this is a band that Alyssa showed me a long time ago, and we
I
went to
like
see
that
them
band
at
name,
Waterfront Wednesday. It was what Moon Taxi.
Moon Taxi. It's a
Yeah,
good band name.
they're really good. We saw them at Waterfront Wednesday, and it was a fall show, so at least this one's legit. It's not a
Yeah,
summer
and
that
and
I.
to be clear, for those unacquainted,
Oh, yeah, Waterfront
Waterfront Wednesday
Wednesday.
is it's like a festival thing that happens in the summer around. We've given our city away, right?
Yeah, at least Louisville, we've given
Yeah,
that
right.
away.
That's what I was
So
meaning. That's the closest city to where Joey lives and I formerly lived. So it was just kind of a nice way to hear a lot of underground, I guess, bands in a way.
yeah, it's
I don't
put
know if
on by
underground is the right, but
it's
lesser known bands.
yeah, because Louisville Public Media, their radio station 91.9, who I guess is like a subsidiary of NPR, National Public Radio.
Yeah,
They put on the shows, so they try to get like I don't know, your more niche bands and stuff, which I really like a lot. But
Yeah, it makes it cheap and
who's your
accessible.
who's your next pick?
I actually don't have any more for the autumn
Oh,
season, so if you have one more, go for it.
I have like three more, but so I'll
Go
just
for it.
bam through them.
Yeah, lay them out.
So Band of Horses, the band, specifically the first two albums that I heard by them, which were Everything All the Time and Cease to Exist, which I think are probably their most popular albums, but they're most popular for a reason because
Yeah,
they're
for sure.
really good. Every time I hear anything, like I can hear anything off of those two albums and it will make my brain think that it's fall. That's like
Yeah.
how much the connection is.
Yeah, I actually lied. I forgot that I only said one of my autumn albums. So quickly, my second autumn album, which I think is kind of on the cusp of summer, like the end of summer, kind of beginning of fall, is Blue October's Foiled
Oh my
album.
god.
I feel like if that album wasn't like so like bright, then it might slip into winter. But because it's also kind of like melodic and stuff, it feels like it goes in the autumn slot for me. It's a good like retrospective, thoughtful depression album kind of a thing that just feels right with fall for me.
Damn, dude. You know what? I'm sorry, Florence and the Machine. I think I might be listening to Foiled tonight. It's such a good album.
It
Um,
is.
my last two are the album Eyelid Movies by Fantagram, which there's just
I haven't actually listened to Fantagram. I've been meaning to. I
you
feel like they're
should.
everywhere, but I just never got around to it.
Their newer stuff doesn't hit me the same way, which bands change, that
Sure.
happens. But there's just something so great about their. I believe Eyelid Movies was their first like full album. And then the XX, more specifically, their self-titled album, and then Coexist. Those two albums are like really fall albums for me.
I don't think I've heard of that band, so I'll have
The
to.
XX,
Yeah,
well,
I don't think I have.
you you should listen to them. They're pretty good.
I will. I'll do it for you, just for you, as I'm slipping into winter, which is the
Oh,
next season, in which my first pick is an album that we have discussed, Sunbather by Def Heaven.
oh,
I feel like that album, it's weird. So I think this album could honestly probably also fit in summer for me.
mm-hmm.
It just feels like a great like album to zone out late at night. And like with the black metal kind of
Yeah,
influence of Death Heaven, at least in Sunbather specifically. There, I mean, which obviously black metal is associated with like snow and woods and desolation and stuff
yeah.
like that, which is why this kind of feels more wintry to me. But man, what a zoning out album that is.
Hell yeah, dude. I also picked Sunbather. That was one of my
Hell
picks.
yes.
My other one of my other picks was another album that we talked about. It was Life Has Gone On Long Enough by None, which really it could be any album by them. I just really like that album. But yeah, the Sunbather especially hits that.
Yeah.
There's just something so special about it, and I love shoegaze. I love black metal. I love it even more when they're combined and make something amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
Death
just so
Heaven,
good.
good rec. Good rec for the podcast. I'm so glad you introduced me to them.
Hell yeah.
I even really like their new album, Infinite Granite. I think I mentioned that a few weeks back that I kind of revisited that album. It's also equally vibey in different ways. So good shit there. My next pick for winter is the latest Mastodon album, Hushed and Grim,
Ooh, nice.
because I don't know that album is so it's like harsh, like being outside in the winter with the cold, but it's also like warm and cozy when you're like inside in the winter. So it's this weird spot for me that like it perfectly captures the winter spirit for me.
Yeah, I've been wearing that hoodie. For all
Yeah,
you people, Jeremy gave me a zip up hoodie for Mastodon's Hushed and Grim,
it was free
and yeah, it's been
because
keeping
they
me.
fucked up.
Yeah, well, it kept me warm. The zipper is on the wrong side too.
Yeah, that happens with some hoodies, man. There's inconsistency in the market, I think, with hoodies. I
I
think most
mean,
of my hoodies have the zipper on the right side, but some of them end up on the left side.
I know that's like a men's versus women's clothes thing. Like
Oh, is it?
men's shirts button from the right and women's button from the left and stuff like that.
Huh.
But I've never encountered it on, and I've worn, I mean,
Yeah.
I've worn women's zip up hoodies before. Not often because usually they don't fit me. I'd have to
Right.
buy like
You're a
20
big guy.
sizes above. But yeah, like it's just never happened to me with zippers before. But
Yeah.
it happened with this
I
one.
have a couple that are on the left side, whereas most of them I think are on the right side. I think that's right for me. I don't know. What else you got for the winner?
Well, I put pile in here specifically because like I guess I tend towards the gray part of green and gray, but
For sure.
also there's a lot of like their older, more rock oriented stuff, like uh shit, I can't think of the name of the album now. I don't
How
know.
dare
Magic
you
isn't
not
real.
know
Magic
the
isn't
new Pile
real
album?
is um oh my god, I'm blanking. Dripping is the other album. The two earlier albums, and I know there's like Demonstration and Haunt. Not Haunt is the album. Is the song that's on it. I can't remember all the album names because I'm frazzled because I forgot one album name.
Yeah,
But
it threw you
a
off.
lot a lot of their earlier stuff hits a winter vibe for me just because of like the rawness of the rock aspect of it. Um I think I have one more, but do you have any more?
I also have one more. So my
What is
final
it?
album is the album "While One Is Less Than Two" by Dead Mouse,
Nice.
which is like, I don't know. For me, it hit perfectly because it was kind of a departure from a lot of the stuff that he had put out, where it's a lot of more like piano driven pieces on that, and less like electronic effects. I mean, it's still there for sure, but even when it's used, I feel like the electronic elements are used in a more like cold way, where like the whole album just feels cold to me. And it's a great
Yeah.
album. I really love that album, but it's specifically just like with the way the pianos sound and everything just kind of comes together. And even like there's a remix of a How to Destroy Angels song on there that just, it feels, I think the song might be called Ice Age actually, but I don't know, it just like a lot of the songs on that album just feel very cold to me, and I love it.
Yeah. I feel that. Man, this whole episode has been filled to the brim with great albums.
Yeah,
And I'm
and a lot
gonna
of nostalgia too.
yeah, a whole lot. A whole lot. I'm not saying that this album that I'm about to say isn't a great album. I really enjoy it. But the Demonstration by Drab Majesty hits a winter vibe for me. Just because of the coldness of it. Like it has that like 80s goth sound to it
Yeah,
that mixed
very
with like a
echoey.
yeah, it's super like reverby, echoey. It's just really, and I mean the subject matter. It's about a suicide cult, well, a real suicide cult that actually happened. So it's like kind of a true story, but a fictional story inside of the true story.
Right. Based
But
on a true story.
yeah, based on a true story. But just something about it, like whenever it's whenever the whole ground is like covered in snow, it's cold out, all the trees are dead, so all you're seeing is like muddy snow and brown trees. It's like
Yeah.
something about that, it just hits right.
Drab Majesty is very brown.
Yeah.
That is the color to describe European goth music. Are they European? I feel like they have to be.
I feel like his
I assume every like goth electro band is from Britain or something.
see that's the thing, I don't know if his accent is actually like British or if it's
Right.
just he's just doing it because that is the
That's the
sound for
sound.
like goth
Yeah,
music.
you got that Robert Smith sound, you know.
Yeah, but
Well,
that's it
cool.
for me.
We got through all 4 seasons. We blazed through them. We had a lot of albums. Let us know what you guys uh, listen to in certain seasons if you would like. Next episode, we have pulled another random genre. This one
Oh my
Joey
god.
pulled, and it's deep G funk, which fuck if I know what that means. I mean, I know what G funk means, but
But what
like
about deep
deep
G
G funk.
funk?
So we're gonna find some wild stuff, I think, assuming we actually, do our due diligence. I've been slacking lately, But I did watch that documentary, so I can't be too hard on myself.
Yeah, there you go. You watched a whole movie on a genre that we picked. So,
so Deep G Funk. Let us know if you guys have Deep G Funk Rex as well. Just get in touch, man. Just contact us. I know I haven't uploaded the last 2 episodes on time, so you're probably, if you're a maniac, you're gonna hear this after listening to those 2 previous. There's going to be 3 episodes back to back to back, maybe 4. We'll see if I keep slacking on the uploads, honestly. But stay in our feedback loop.
Bye.